Виждате, че последните години има някои флуктуации. След малко ще ви покажа ето този слайд, на който да видите съотношението между държавна субсидия и собствени приходи. Общо взето корелацията е очевидна и колкото държавната субсидия е по-голяма, толкова и собствените приходи са по-големи. Защо е така? Защото почти всички съвременни научно-изследователна ефективност при привличане на средства отвънка. Съотношението в последните 5 години е много стабилно, 60 към 40. Тоест, ако приемем, че целият бюджет на академията е 100 единици, 60 от тях са от държавна субсидия, 40 е от собствени приходи. Държавата има своята грижа и своето задължение и трябва да го има. За да се развиват тези научни изследвания, тя да подпомага по адекватен начин и то с финансово обезпечаване тези научни изследвания. Договорите, които имаме с български компании, варират някъде около 500 на година. Радващото е, че в последните години не по-малко от 200-250 поръчки от чужди компании в чужбина получаваме. Една много важна друга дейност е екологичният мониторинг върху цялата страна и върху Черно море. Нещо, което не много хора знаят, но това е ежедневна работа, която ние не само, че извършваме, но и сме съществено звено в мрежата от подобни центрове в рамките на Европа. БАН представлява държавата България в голяма част от международните организации, не само международни научни организации, а международни организации, защото просто такъв е статута на вземаните решения на различно равнище от Министерски съвет или от Народно събрание. За това какви активности имаме по отношение на европейските програми, натовските програми и други международни финансови институции, след малко ще ви кажа. Това ни даде основание 2009 година да направим един много рисков ход. Ние поканихме международни експерти да оценят дейността на Българската академия на науките. За първи път в България някой си позволи да покани чужденци да го оценяват. Там нямаше нито един българин, имаше преди всичко високо специализирани и квалифицирани европейски учени, плюс учени от Япония и от Щатите.
I hear very often Bulgarians say the level of education is lower now than in the times of old people like me. I think you shouldn't say that. I think your level of education remains high and you should be proud of it, and it feeds to you and the tertiary sector as an important factor. You don't agree with me. I used to be in education. I don't agree with myself.
Exactly, I agree.
Good. Second point is you're very correct in saying the cost of patenting and protection by trademarks is an important factor. I used to work in intellectual property, so I know the process is complicated and expensive. Maybe pressure has to be put on government to have a fast-tracked, simplified approach. I know that's not always easy, but if you can't get a patent, you are lost on the market.
We put the pressure, but unfortunately without result.
Try again.
We do.
And the third lesson I would take from what you say is clearly Bulgaria is not going to become the Tatar of the world. You have to look for niche markets, and your role is extremely important in identifying the good avenues.
Yes, of course. Fully agree.
Good. So much agreement on the panel, that's bad. Maybe we should then ask our colleague who has arrived from no doubt a busy day, and thank you very much for coming. This is Mark van Stiphout. Sorry if I mispronounced.
Thanks for inviting me. My name is Mark van Stiphout. I'm in the cabinet of Commissioner Oettinger, so working on energy policies with Commissioner Oettinger, and I'm very happy to be here. Just on behalf of Commissioner Oettinger, I wanted to say a few words in general, and also a bit about what we are doing in energy policy, and what, at least from our point of view, seems to be particularly relevant for Bulgaria, for the discussions going on there. But let me first say that in general, let's say this Good News Day, having this event here, sounds like and looks like an excellent idea. I think personally from the Netherlands, from let's say 1.5 hours away from Brussels. So, and already then people consider that Brussels is, you know, Belgium, foreign country. They even don't really speak Dutch, but mostly French. And it's, you know, you know, people often ask me, oh, in Brussels, so far away. But from where I live, Amsterdam is actually further away than Brussels, but still people think that Brussels is very far away. So I can only imagine what it must be if you are in Bulgaria, and how from the point of view of Bulgaria, Brussels must be a faraway town where you don't go very often, and where everything that's being discussed seems very far away from the daily life of Bulgaria. So the idea of organizing these kind of discussions like you have today here in Brussels to discuss the link between Brussels and Sofia, or the link between Brussels and or the EU and Bulgaria, are an excellent initiative for which I would like to applaud you. And I hope that this is not a one-off thing, but something that will continue in the longer term as well, and will also expand and, you know, have go into specific discussions for this specific and particularly relevant topics. And I think, of course, you know, it may be also a bit of professional deformation, but as far as I can see it now, working with Commissioner Oettinger, that energy and energy policy is usually quite a good thermometer for what is happening and what is at stake, and a very good indicator of what matters in the bigger economy. And I think also there you know, Bulgaria is of course far away from the, let's say, at the edge of the internal market, at the edge of the networks of the let's say the integrated market that we're trying to create. But we are making some very important steps in Bulgaria, but also in Brussels, in the working contacts, let's say, to make sure that that things are happening and that things are progressing. It will not be a secret to you that we have many issues and lots of work on energy policy everywhere in Europe. And energy is a hot topic everywhere in Europe these days, because we're talking about the climate change and how to continue, about what do we do after 2020, and what kind of ambition do we have, for example, when it comes to cutting down CO2 emissions in the longer term, so after 2020. But already we have lots of discussions when we talk about renewable energy and the 2020 targets, and how are we able to integrate that into the internal market, how are we going to manage all these renewables that are or this renewable electricity that is being produced, more and more renewable capacity being installed. How are we going to make sure that our European energy system stays competitive, sustainable, and also guarantees security of supply. In general, the security of supply, the level of electricity interruptions in Europe is very low, but we certainly, there is always room for improvement, and we certainly want to not have it deteriorating. And so we have lots of discussions about integrating the markets better, making the systems to support renewables more European, and all of these things are also very relevant for Bulgaria, where you have annual discussions about the support for renewable energy that, let's say, that triggered big investments, but then came to some kind of a, how do you call that, you know, you had to also reconsider the support schemes because it was going too fast in a way. And we see that in many countries. It was happening like that in the Czech Republic, in Spain. So many of these things are shared issues across many countries in Europe. And I think, once again, for us, what is very important, that we discuss these things on the European level, and that we learn from what has happened and improve the system as we go along. I think when we came up up with the renewables targets, we also would not necessarily have known what kind of challenges we would be facing now. And I think, therefore, exchange of experience, exchange of best practices is extremely important. I think there are, of course, a few particular things in Bulgaria, and just also to show our commitment from Commissioner Oettinger and from our DG. We had a big delegation of colleagues who went to Bulgaria. I think that was in May or June, that went there and had many talks, many discussions with different stakeholders in the Bulgarian energy market to see what, let's say, what was needed or what could be done to improve the market functioning and improve also the integration of Bulgaria into the wider European market. And you know, you can consider it unfortunate or also in a way a sign of the complexity of it, but it was very clear that there is no single silver bullet that will solve everything. It's not a one-off decision that will put things in order. I think it's a complicated process. There are many stakeholders involved. It involves a regulator that and it has to be independent, appointed in a transparent manner. It requires a good market functioning, transparent rules, for example. And I think that all of these things are, again, a matter of good cooperation, lots of discussion, and continued efforts. It's not something that is going to be solved in one go. And again, you know, Bulgaria is not any different from any other country, because it's in every country long discussions and detailed work that is needed and that is ongoing.
Vivacom is now first the biggest telecom in Bulgaria, and second is in Bulgarian hands. Let me start a little bit with some history. What was Bulgaria? What was Bulgarian telecommunications in the 90s? First characteristic was an underdeveloped infrastructure. We had monopoly in fixed telephony, we had monopoly in mobile telephony. The internet in Bulgaria was coming primarily via satellite. It was, first of all, privatization of the monopoly telecom, BTC. This is actually my company's successor. Old state-owned company. New licenses, which created competition in the country in terms of mobile telephony. And the third factor was full deregulation and providing totally free market in the country. This is basically opposite of what, let me put some criticism here, of what the European Commission is trying to do here in certain areas of telecom. So free market, I believe, is always better than any kind of regulation. So this free market brought in Bulgaria very competitive services with very good quality, and same time services with very low prices. What we have at the moment, we have a country with very advanced telecommunications infrastructure. We are one of the, we're in top 10 in the world in terms of internet speed. We have three, here I'm talking about my competitors, 3 mobile networks with very high quality. And all of this is being delivered to the people at prices which are half of average in the European Union. So basically, I'm saying that prices of telecom services are quite low in the country. This is Bloomberg, just not to be talking only about my company. Probably every one of you knows what Bloomberg is saying here, where to find fastest internet, and Bulgaria is number 8 in the world, not in Europe. And what they are saying, it's not only about low taxes and cheap labor. It's one selling factor about Bulgaria is the fastest internet. Of course, contribution here has the company I represent, and I'm proud of it. What we deliver, it's a broadband internet, fixed internet, mobile telephony and mobile internet, and unique television services. What is unique? Unique is the interactivity. We're running a project, fiber to the home. Basically, we're deploying infrastructure to every home in the Bulgarian cities. Just for you, probably every one of you knows the copper cables which your telephone is connected at home. This is available, but that infrastructure is limited. It's limited in terms of speed, in terms of capacity. The fiber cable is basically delivering to you unlimited capacity. This is the simple difference. So what we do, we bring fiber cable to every home and we deliver unlimited capacity. You can run internet, you can run television, of course telephony. Our project, this is the country, we have now already 5 cities. Of course it is business driven and logically we start from biggest cities. But then we have the plan also other cities which will be built 2014 and further. Also 2 of the cities we are doing together with one of our competitors. We are basically sharing infrastructure. So this is a common project. We are sharing cost in order to be able to deliver low-cost services for everyone. The 2 cities are Schumann and Sliven, where we're doing this. Of course, I should not skip our proud mobile network. I can say that this is one of the best in Europe. First coverage, 99.4% we cover from the population. This is practically everyone in the country. And second, the speed, mobile internet speed, which is guaranteed. It's between 21 and 42 megabits. In these pictures, in blue, you can see the places where you have 42, possibility up to 42 megabits. The rest of the country is 21. And a few words at the end about the TV service. I said already, interactivity. What is interactivity? You can, if you watch a channel or movie, you can pause it, you can stop it. You can go back in time and watch maybe the news, which were today at 8 o'clock, but you missed them. Or even you can watch certain channels 1 week back in time. You can record certain movie or certain program. Let's say you were busy and you could not be in front of your TV set, but you can record and later want to watch it. And last but not least, the video on demand. You can watch any film. This is usually a paid service. Probably everyone may remember the video text places where we went to rent movies and films. Now you do this just by clicking your remote control and selecting your favorite movie. Next step of this will be to provide all these services to smartphones, computers, and tablets. That will be possible via the internet, via our fixed or mobile infrastructure. So, with the time I had, this was my presentation. Thank you very much.
I'd like to address 2 things. First of all, it's my company and a festival that we organize. but I would like to use it as a case study for a concept that has been running into my mind. And being here for the Good News Day, I want to start with the worst news about Bulgaria that I've ever seen on the internet. It was a chart, I'm not sure which was the website, but it was a chart for two indicators. It's the GDP and the energy efficiency in Bulgaria, which relates to a certain extent to the topic in energy efficiency. And it was a comparison between Bulgaria and Denmark, and in both cases Denmark was the first place and Bulgaria was the last place. So Bulgaria was 6 times least energy efficient with 5 times lower GDP, which means that basically we're 30 times less efficient than Danish people. And this is something that you cannot overcome by going straight forward. You just need to leap ahead, which then leads again to the spiritual energy. And this is something that can be quite easily modulated and reshaped. It has no boundaries. It's just a perception and meaning. And it might sound a bit weird from where I'm starting. All these thoughts have come to my head thanks to a project that we've been organizing for 3 years in a row. It's a festival for urban culture. And let's see a short movie about it. It's like 3 minutes, and then I would go into details about it. This was the video from last year's edition of OnFest. The last edition took place this September, and I really can say that I'm a lucky guy to be able to work with the team that produces it and to have the opportunity that we have with OnFest. We love it for a lot of reasons, and the core reason that we love it and that we invest so much energy into it was invisible to us in the beginning, but we at a certain point realized that OnFest is actually a platform. And when we realized that, we were able to really structure ourselves adequately and be really efficient. By being a platform, we strive to give the possibility to artists, be it group, individuals, or companies, to represent what they do and to show it in the best manner possible. And for us, our goal is to give them all the tools that they would need to do that properly. And by realizing that after the second year, we've had a really successful third edition of the festival, which is here in numbers, but I wouldn't get too much into details of it. Basically, we had 15,000 visitors this year of the festival in more than 15 zones with gaming. I'll jump to the gaming point as a conclusion of my presentation, being one of the core components of the festival. We've managed, we already this year wanted to position OnFest outside the boundaries of Bulgaria because we believe that we have the right content, we have the right motivation, and we know what we're doing to be able to position OnFest as one of the key events in Europe when it comes to entertainment, to fun, and by that, not only presenting OnFest, but also Sofia and Bulgaria as a place to go in not only in Europe, but globally. And by the gaming, we had a lot of computer games competitions. I'm not sure how many of you know that video games are really popular. I'm pretty sure that everybody knows that. But video games established themselves as a sport. A lot of people play video games professionally, get paid for that, and it generates bigger and bigger audience. And the charts say basically that it would overcome the vast majority of popular sports in the next 5 years. So by the gaming content that we had as part of the festival, we were able to stream it live to more than 360,000 people outside Bulgaria in English. And that we use that as an anchor, as a tool to present that OnFest is a cool event and that it's better to be there rather to watch it from home. Okay, 3 minutes should be enough. And this is a tease that we made. I would say it was a marketing move, and it was quite efficient. We painted, this used to be a quite gray, huge tower, part of one of the heating infrastructures in Sofia. And we painted a character from the most popular video game that is out there now. It's called League of Legends. It's made by really talented Italian and Australian artists living in the UK. Graffiti, it took us a lot of resources to do that, but the outcome, in the first week that we posted it online, it had more than 500,000 views. So this was another tool that we used to promote OnFest outside the boundaries of Bulgaria, as our ambitions is to have the best event in the world when it comes to that kind of content by 2017. But I would conclude with that for the OnFest and quickly jump on gaming and most of the topics that have been discussed. Basically, if Bulgaria wants to catch up with the countries from Western Europe, it cannot be by having the mindset that we need to catch up. We have to have the mindset to overleap, to be in front of them. And only by realizing that we would be able to at least catch up with them. And the only, not the only, but the key tool strategically that Bulgaria has to use is the human resources potential and the creativity that there is in Bulgaria. And that can be done with the creative industries, with the cultural sector, and gaming is one of them, at least the one that I know most about. For the first year that we had OnFest, we have a conference for game development. We had only 9 studios operating in Bulgaria in 2011. Now there are more than 30 studios developing games in Bulgaria. For total, more than 1,500 people are actually developing games. And when you develop a game, it's a product with extremely high added value. So basically, if you manage to produce a good intellectual property and afterwards properly distribute and disseminate it, then you can capitalize a lot. Every euro that you invest, you can get a huge return on it. Gaming, video games is the largest entertainment business in the world, overpassing Hollywood and everything else. I'd love to go into much more details in regards to the gaming industry. It's really hot. There are 3 VC funds operating now in Bulgaria, heavily investing in entertainment and in video games in that particularity. And it is growing. It is definitely growing. It's something that eyes must be kept on it. And using the concept that OnFest is a platform, I like to put up a challenge and a thank you again for you and to Bulgaria is you and to all the people who were engaged with the organization. Basically, the only thing that could be better than good news is the possibility to create even more good news. So let's make sure that every one of us can deliver and can give additional value so that we have the right platform to create even more and more good news from now on. Thank you very much.
We have 2 wineries, one in south part of Bulgaria, which is the new winery, and one in north part. I'm going to represent a little bit more about the new winery, which has we have used some co-financing from the European community about its building. The project of Castra Rubra started in 2004, as I said. We have built first the winery, which looks just like an ancient fortress. The name is not by accident. In some way, all our brands and wines from this winery are connected in some way with this way. We are the biggest beer certified producer of grapes in Bulgaria. We have more than 300 hectares of beer certified grapes. In the new winery, we are producing wines from middle level to high level. In the winery, we produce wines with traditional French technology because of Mr. Rouen. He is managing everything from the grape to the final blending of the wines. We are the biggest buyer of new French oak barrels in Bulgaria. Every year, we buy between 400 to 600 new barrels depending on the vintage and our needs. I dare to say maybe we are doing one of the best wines in Bulgaria at the moment and one of the best wines in Europe at all. For the wines you're going to taste tonight, I'm not going to tell you anything because I believe everybody should find his own wine and to choose which is the wine he likes best, because maybe I like one kind of wine, but you may like another kind of wine. And so I think I don't have to take any more time and to postpone much more the degustation.
Okay. You were actually enthusiastic and you described a reality which is positive. So I think you are also proof that there is a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of drive, especially among young entrepreneurs in Bulgaria, and it needs to be channeled and harnessed and recognized. It's not easy to know who should be more active in helping you to improve inward investments. And recently I read that your inward investment rate had dropped by 40%, which is a huge fall in European Union countries' feeling of confidence about Bulgaria. Not just European Union, because you have markets in other countries. And those markets inevitably rely on market information by journalists, The Economist, the Financial Times, Channel 4, BBC, whoever. So the media form partly the view of foreign investors. And the other part is formed by the investors themselves, according to the experience which they have in working with Bulgaria. And I put the question to our host from the catering department who provided the sandwiches, and I said, why don't you offer Bulgarian wines? And he said, no need. No need, why? Because I can get the same quality at the same price without the hassle of having to procure through a Bulgarian source. So because you are far away from Brussels, as was said at the beginning, because you have a certain heavy image which you have to shift, it is important to work on the image because that will condition whether people want to invest or not. And how you go in the future, well, that's a matter of personal taste. And I was thinking of a relevant story and the one about the three men in the car I have stolen from Novina, who ran it this week as the story of the week. And the three men are in the car and it goes out of control, the brakes fail and they hit the ditch. And the three men get out and one of them says, it's okay, I'm an engineer, I have my tools in the car, I'm going to dismantle the car and I'll be able to put it together. And the second one says, no, I'm a software engineer. And I know somewhere in the system there is a fault, a bug, push it to the top of the hill again, reboot it, and see what happens the second time. And the third one says, well, sorry guys, but I'm a civil servant, therefore I know everything. And the answer is very simple. We form a working group, we establish a strategic vision, and then we make a roadmap of how to get to where we were going to before. So it doesn't matter if you're an engineer with an engineering gift or you're into software. It may matter if you're a civil servant. Sorry. But I think it is important that each Bulgarian promotes himself or herself, is not shy, is not thinking, oh no, people will look badly at me because I'm Bulgarian. But at the same time recognizing that your partners can spend in another country. They don't have to spend with you, so you have to be the one who's offering the best product and the best conditions. I thought I might be pessimistic after this Good News Day, and I'm pleasantly surprised to say I remain as optimistic as I was 2 months ago when I foolishly said in Sofia to some journalists, let's make a Good News Day, and they laughed. Well, I think they shouldn't laugh because I think we had a Good News Day. We had good news, we had good spirit. I'd like to thank our co-organisers, particularly Bulgaria City, who've contributed very largely to the success of the event. We'd like to thank the sponsorship of the wine, which is a very important element of what is yet to come. And of course to thank the speakers from the Commission and from the business sector. And one thing which you may keep for the future is there must be times when you have a question, when you would like to know the answer to something. And I think you have to keep the dialogue going. You have to find a person in the Commission, in the Parliament or somewhere else, and you have to really push them to give you the answer. Because without the knowledge, things cannot change. And then I have to thank one other person, the very brave Nina, our interpreter, who has been on duty all day and has done a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Nina. Moment au soleil, un journal photo. C'est devenu traditionnel maintenant. Voilà, c'est pour votre bureau. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. Kadinov. Yes, for the hologram. I appreciate it very much, making the journey. Yes, I'll come and see you next time. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for your help with the organisation of the event. And we look forward now to you proving to us why you are the best company.
I think it's a very good idea. It's a very good idea to bring people here from Bulgaria together with also people from the European institutions, from the European Commission, let's say the people who work from Brussels, to have interaction and just discuss and create mutual understanding.
And do you hear very often good news about Bulgaria?
Well,
Be honest.
to be honest, maybe not enough. And I think it's of course different, in the Commission when we discuss and what we are working on with Bulgaria in terms of energy. There is bad news, but there is also then always need to do something. So it's not necessarily good news, but there's always a good reason to work, and so that's a good thing. But of course, if you ask me as a, if you would ask my father or my sister, I'm afraid that there is still some reputation that can be improved.
Okay. So you think that this event should continue on maybe in other countries so that we could popularize more Bulgaria and the good news of Bulgaria?
I think so. I think it's important that you go around, you discuss, you interact, and of course that that things happen with it. That the things happen in Bulgaria, and then I think the good news will spread.
Тая идея се роди още преди 3-4 месеца в България, като беше госпожа Бриджит Чернота. Обсъдихме я и днеска тя вече е реалност. Ами, оказва се, че всички, които дойдоха в началото, очакваха нещо по-стандартно, нещо по-политическо, но като видяха, че няма политика, има само добри новини от България и то уникални новини, както видяхте всички. Интересът се повдигна И факта, че хората са още тук и не са тръгнали на 5-та и 6-та минута, само по себе си говори какъв е интересът към България. Мисля, че това има бъдеще в този проект и за сега обсъдихме до година да бъде добрата новина в Берлин.
Ден на добрата новина за България в Брюксел е по ваша инициатива и по инициатива на национално движение България Сити. Как ви хрумна тази идея?
Well, you know, there's a good saying that success has a lot of fathers and failure just has one mother.
Yeah.
And I said, how about having a good news day in Brussels? And they laughed a lot. And I think it's a good initiative, even if it came from me, because I think it's good from time to time to feel good about yourselves. And there is too often very general bad publicity about Bulgarians, Romanians, Slovaks, where it's said everybody is a beggar, everyone is coming to our country to benefit. And I don't like that news about you, but simply by demonstrating by your actions.
Начало на едно велико бъдеще, тъй като за България трябва да се чува колкото се може повече. Аз специално да ви кажа, съм човек, който винаги е бил апостол на доброто име на България. Тоест аз никога не съм имал възможността някой да ме обижда. Но за България все повече се знае и би трябвало да правим всичко възможно да се знаят за нейните добри страни, тъй като България е една държава изпълнена с таланти, не само в пеенето, защото аз съм представител на певците, но България е представител на страшни таланти. Ние сме дали страшно много на света и трябва да се гордеем и трябва навсякъде да показваме, че ние сме нещо, да имаме самочувствието, че сме нещо, а не вечно да бъдем прегърбени или вечно да бъдем в услуга на другите и те да ни казват как да живеем, какво трябва да правим, как да го правим. Мисля, че ние имаме достоинство и трябва да се защитаваме истински.
Основната причина беше, че Viva.com е в момента изцяло българска компания. Единственият български телеком от големите, смея да кажа. И заради това мисля, че трябва да сме тук, трябва да подкрепим България, да кажем, че има нещо хубаво, което се случва, включително в големия бизнес, в такъв мащаб, каквато е нашата компания. Аз мисля, че е много добре организирано. Виждам, че има хора, посетители. Смятам, че сигурно трябва да се развива. Това е начин на България да си прави своята реклама, своя пиар. И е задължително не само тук в Брюксел, а и в други големи столици в Европа и не само в Европа.
Здравейте, господин Тодоринов. Вие сте менеджер логистика на водещ български винопроизводител и участвате днес в мероприятието Денят на добрата новина в Брюксел. Защо решихте да участвате?
Решихме да участваме, защото не много често има такива инициативи в Европейския съюз и в европейски институции и решихме, че тъй като не много често България излиза в позитивен план да кажем, в съзнанието на европейците, да се представим и да покажем, че България може да бъде източник на добри новини, не само на проблеми, както се опитват да представят някои европейски депутати и институции.
Много се радвам, че днес бях част от тази хубава инициатива на България Сити. Никога не съм присъствала на подобно мероприятие. Днес тук чух много интересни, хубави неща, които притежава България и които се случват в България, но хората в другите държави от страни не ги виждат, ако ние не разкажем за тях, ако ние не покажем какво правим и какво можем.
Мислите ли, че многото инициативи, които имате, вашето училище, на което вие сте директор заедно с движение България Сити, могат да са един вид добра новина?
Разбира се, че може. Специално в моето училище това беше една мотивация за ученици да учат повече, за да се представят добре на Цветната олимпиада и мотивация.